Bootstrap is great. The only problem with Bootstrap is it doesn't have a lot of built-in functionalities. We'll get into that, what that functionality is and how we are leveraging this. So for example, that's a very next example. So how does Bootstrap compare with Material, right? A lot of people know what Bootstrap is and why is even Angular Material needed. So before we get into that, like this is how the application will have like a training module, a navigation module, and an authorization module. So every module will have a service to it. We'll have a service. We'll have a bunch of components. We have 3 components inside one training module. So 3 modules. So we have like one basic training module under which we have 3 submodules, and one service which controls them all, kind of gives the logic behind how things should work. And then we have a navigation module, and we have submodules for that. Similarly, we have auth module, which is like sign up and login. And we have a model for each of these. Like in this example, exercise is a model. And then here we have a user model, which is user ID password that will show. So the model is nothing but that which stores the state. Service is what drives the logic. And components are like the backend for your UI elements. So let's quickly jump into the components. Like now I'll try to answer why Angular Material compared to Bootstrap. You already have Bootstrap, then why do you even need components? So I'll just demo an example where you can use a date picker, a simple example of a date picker. So generally when you're filling up a form, you would be asked to pick up a date saying that you have an age restriction of 18 years or so, usually. If you're trying to sign up something, probably they have an age restriction, right? Like 18 years, you have to be 18 years and above to get into the website. So think about that. How would you write logic, right? With Bootstrap, you only get the styling aspects of it, but you can't really embed that limitation, or you cannot put that logic into your code. Here you can use components, Angular components, which are built by Google themselves, like a team Google, they build those components, and you just have to know how to use the syntax. Once you know the syntax, you have to provide a method, like I will show here. So this is the component. So if you want to build this, the basic thing that you will do is you will go and import from material. You'll just Google and say Angular Material, and you'll have in the documentation you have these components. All these are components that they provide. Like whenever you see mat, that is a material component. Okay, so we just go ahead and import date picker module, and in order for that to work, also there's a dependency of native date module. You have multiple choices, so these two work in tandem. And the way this is set up is you have to import and then also export in the same file, because when you build an Angular application, you probably do not have like a standard set of libraries. You will want to only import those which you need. So you have something called, you have to create something called material module.ts. So this is the file which dictates like how much of it, what all components should be included in your application. This is where you include your modules, and then you will import them as well as export them. Import from the core library, export to your application. Does it make sense? That's a good question. Yes, you will use npm. So you use npm install -- Angular Material. So I have the documentation here. Like in the I didn't go through that part, but in the documentation it's through npm. So if you're familiar with Angular application, you just fire up the Angular application by saying Angular install. The same way you npm install Angular. Similarly you will install npm install and Material. So as I already answered this question, so Angular Material is built on top of Angular. It's not a separate component by itself. So think of it like this. You have a base Angular on which you're adding a skill, you're adding a color, you're adding a functionality. It's a wrapper on top of Angular. It's not like something different from Angular. They'll both go hand in hand. You are still working with Angular at the core. You're still working with all the components of Angular. It's just that you don't, instead of you writing some logic, they're writing, and you get to leverage that. So what do you get to leverage is what I'm trying to cover here. So for example, you can, if you notice this, so if I say there's an age restriction of 18 years, and I have to go and pick the form. Now you don't want the user to be able to select August 30th or 31st because 2001-29 is the last date where the person is eligible to sign the form. So if he was born on 30th August 2001, he's already less than 18 years. Do you get the point? So if a person, if I was born on August 29, I'm 18, and if I'm born on August 13, for today's date, I'm below 18 years. So I'm controlling this logic, and I'm controlling this logic simply by writing little pieces of code. Let's look at what I'll be writing here. So I'll be mentioning something called max date property. The max date property is this is the input. So there are three parts to it. There's the input. There is a date picker toggle. So like the toggle which says like if once you pick the date, you should go back. Once you click on it, it should come back. So, you've seen the date picker, right? In the forms, click on it, a date pops up, the calendar pops up. The pop up and the pop down is kind of controlled by line number 15, which is the date picker toggle. And the main element, the picker itself is mentioned in 16. And what gets the value that you select gets inputted to the input element, which is one of the mat form elements. So basically you will have any form. In the form, you will define it as mat form. That way you get to space things out. You get to add a lot of material components to that. That's how you make a mat form. And then you have this max date attribute. And the way we control this max date attribute is on the component side. This is on the HTML side. This is on the display side. So in Angular, you'll have two things. One, the design aspect of it, structural aspect of it, and there's always the logic aspect of it. So the display aspect of it would be the HTML and the CSS, and the logic part of it would be in the components. And service will do a part of like going and talking with other services and things, and then injecting the data into your components. So this is how, at the very base, Angular works like this. You have HTML, CSS for display, service for like the logic of the particular display, and then services which go and talk to other components and then bring the required data and then put it into the component. That's how it, at the very base it works. So now, like the max date, if you look at the max date field, which is an attribute, what we're doing here is on initialization of the application, you're saying that grab the date, which is today's date, and then get the full year minus 18. So this kind of, and then you are setting the full year here. What it means is, like, you grab the date and then you subtract like minus 18 and set the maximum age, like that a person is eligible. Did it make sense? Is it okay? Are you going okay here? Okay. So let's continue. That's like the very base how a component would work. If you had to write the same logic on Bootstrap, think what kind of complexity it brings into the picture, right? You don't have this kind of leverage that you can define your properties. Because now what you have to learn as a material Angular design developer is you have to learn what kind of properties are available and what values you have to add, that's all. So it's a great step up from having a Bootstrap. In Bootstrap, you still have to think about the logic.
We can write the same logic in Angular itself, like using directives.
But then this, yes, you can do it. You can get the logic, but you don't get the styling aspect of it. So you get to choose one. If you go to Bootstrap, you can use Bootstrap, and you can use Angular, and you can get it done the hard way. You will miss the styling aspect of it. You will miss the nice feel of material look. So this is what Angular material is like. Think of it like a combination of the logic from the Angular side as well as the styling aspect from the Bootstrap side. It's like a mixture of both. You get best of the both worlds when you use this. And also, you don't have to worry about a lot of customization logic down the road because like they have gone through a lot of component design. A lot of components are there. So this is why it's called Angular material is called a CDK, Component Development Kit. Like a SDK, Software Development Kit, this is a CDK. What it means is like a built-in components for you to build application. So it kind of automates a lot of logic for you. So a lot of it, how if you want to look at under the hood of how things work and things like that. So it is just most of it works through like Angular as well as the Angular Fire Auth that we will be talking about. most of it works on the observer design pattern. When I talk with a lot of developers, they don't really understand or grasp the idea of what observer pattern is. So I just made up this small slide. So think of it like, I just made up a slide here. So this observer, this little sister of the elder sister, she's just always observing her elder sister. So this, some state changes here, so some relation is developing here, so she would just call up her mom and tell her something is going on. This is how our observer pattern works. So there is always a subject, our bigger sister, our elder sister here, and there is an observer, our younger sister, and our younger sister subscribes to the elder sister at her birth. So just because she's born, like she just subscribes to her elder sister. So when she just keeps spying on her elder sister, and whenever something changes, she will just inform the mom. This is exactly how observer pattern works, and you'll see a lot of it happening in the code. And I'll show you what this percolates to in the code. So in the code, we use, there are two approaches. Whenever you usually see any requirements or any applications, you'll see there are basic two approaches to achieve this, which is RxJS approach, which is a reactive programming, and the other one is state management approach. State management approach is mostly Redux on, if you go to React, it's called Redux, and here they have NGRX, that's state management part of it. It's slightly more complex, I don't think we'll have time for that, but there is a reactive way of programming, which is RxJS. Every other programming language has this kind of equivalent, even Java has a reactive programming. So the reactive programming aspect of it is, what is it reacting to? It is reacting to its change in the event, so it's changing the state of the subject. So if there is a subject, and then the state of the subject changes, rest of the components kind of react to that change. That is where the reactive programming comes in. So let's look at how to implement this in the code. So you have a subject, which is you import from RxJS subject, and if I want to make an auth service, the auth service is when you have the logout, login kind of functionality, right? So on the header is a component, and and behind the scenes it's always tied back to the auth service. So auth service kind of dictates whether what should show on the header component. Like if you're logged in, it should not ask you to sign in, right? And if you are logged out, it should not say, do something and log out. So if you're logged in, it should say log out, and if you are logged out, it should say log in, right? This kind of logic, simple logic. So there's a service which defines what is the criteria based on which you should define as the state of application logged in or logged out. And there is a component which reacts to the state. So going back to our example again, this is our elder sister who's spying on it. This is our component, and this is our subject, which is the auth service. This is the auth service, which will define if the application is logged in or logged out. And this is the component, this observer is the component, which kind of reacts based on state. Okay? So we have this auth change. So as I said, like there's a property called auth change, and this is a subject. And for this subject, whenever the state changes of the subject would say next dot next, and it will say false. So somebody clicked logged out. So when the moment somebody clicked logged out, the state on the auth will say auth change status will be next to false. That will be emitted. Once this emits the false information, then whoever is listening to this, which is the observer subscribes to the subject using the subscription here. So if you look at line number 18, 19, and 20, you see that to the auth service, so here there's the auth service. To the auth service, or the property auth change, we are subscribing. The observer is subscribing to that auth change. And whenever there is a change in the state, automatically a call will come. If you put a debugger point here on line number 19, and something changes on the subject, the control will directly come to line number 18. So the state percolated to this observer. So the subject changes, observer gets notified. And then observer gets to decide whether it should do whatever it should do. So in our rudimentary example, the observer will just notify her mom. Similarly, the components can do their own things. Multiple components can get notified, and they get to choose what needs to be done. So this is the basis of the observer pattern, and here in this example, we're doing it through RxJS. Okay, so that's the talk about reactive programming and reactive programming. An application, Angular, material design, and develop it to deploy it. So I'll be covering all of it, but at a very high level. I'll be switching gears here. So that is the reactive programming aspect of it, which is the fundamental of how things work. And then this is the Firebase. Firebase is an awesome service for people like me, like developers who want to develop applications for small businesses or who have a startup idea and who don't have a lot of infrastructure to put up front.